Welcome to Immigration Answers with Seth.
Hey everyone, welcome to the first episode of Immigration Answers with Seth, with immigration attorney Seth D, the founder of Stringer Law Firm out in Birmingham, Alabama. I am your host, Mike Leon. Seth here has been helping immigrants in Birmingham, all across Alabama as well, and beyond, find safety and stability through VAWA, petitions, U visas, family-based immigration, asylum, and naturalization. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about what VAWA really requires, what it is. Seth's going to go over the evidence, the timelines, the common myths about it that can confuse or discourage people who are really trying to leave an unsafe situation. Seth, it's good to see you as always in this first episode. I would love to learn a little bit more about you because you've dedicated a big part of your practice to helping survivors through the process that I just mentioned with VAWA and U visas. So for the listeners that are meeting you for the first time, what led you into this work? Why does it matter so much to you?
Yeah, so I've been practicing law for about 17 years now. The first few years of my practice, I was almost exclusively family law. As you can imagine, family law is a very tiresome and frustrating process, much like every other aspect of practicing law. But I just got bogged down in the pettiness of client demands that really did not matter in the grand scheme of things. They wanted a divorce, but they were not willing to compromise to get the divorce. They wanted their pound of flesh before they said their final goodbyes to their spouse. So I decided to put those two aspects of what I like to do into my practice, working with internationals and practicing law. So the best thing about that is I get to work with internationals. I get to see their standpoint. I get to see their point of view from a worldly point of view, and also see how it can be integrated into the American system. Yeah. So I started out with naturalizations, then I moved on to just green card-based marriages, and also to VAWA.
So let's talk about when someone reaches out to you first and they're wondering about whether or not VAWA actually applies to their situation. What are some of the main things that you help them understand right away?
Well, the main thing that I help them understand is that this is a private matter, meaning that it's just between me, the client, and the U.S. government. So by that, I mean the client tells me the information that I need, I complete the forms, I gather the evidence with their assistance, and I present the information to the government. Once the government gets the information, it is sealed, meaning that we cannot get any notification about what is going on in these applications. That can be frustrating because the client is going to want to know what is going on, what is happening in my case, why is it not moving forward? The only answer I can give them is I don't know and I cannot find out. So their concern is that someone is going to find out that they have filed this application for VAWA, and they're going to rat to their spouse or significant other of what has happened, and they're going to even suffer even more because they have went behind their significant other's back to get immigration assistance without their acknowledgement. My response to that is they're not going to find out unless you tell them.
So Seth, let me ask you then, what in these cases, what types of evidence can actually support a VAWA petition?
Well, first of all, you have to have been married to a U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident, or have a other type of familial relationship with a U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident, such as being the child of a U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident, or the parent of a U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident. So all three of those categories are able to apply for VAWA.
And if someone that's listening to this, let's say they don't have the police reports, medical records, all this information, and you need text saved, are there still ways to document the abuse that's happening so USCIS can see what's been happening? And explain, by the way, what some of these acronyms are as well.
VAWA stands for Violence Against Women Act. That was an act instituted several years ago to protect vulnerable spouses from abuse of U.S. citizens or lawful permanent resident spouses. Even though the name says Violence Against Women Act, it is also applicable to men. So if you don't have the police transcripts or anything like that, you have your story. So I have my clients give me a detailed story about what has happened in their relationship. Give me details. I don't want generalities such as he or she was abusive to me, he or she did not let me do what I wanted to do. Give me details. Did he or she threaten you with ice? Did he or she physically or sexually or emotionally abuse you? Tell me. I've been doing this for several years now. There's probably nothing that I have not heard before. So if you want this form of relief, then you've got to be honest and upfront and give me the details that I ask for. So even if you don't have those police reports, you do have your story. And I also tell my clients, you need to go ahead and get a psychological evaluation. So a third-party professional can come to a conclusion whether he or she believes that you were the victim of domestic violence. After that, I tell my clients, you need to go to therapy. You need to be in therapy consistently, weekly, however your therapist sees fit to see you. Give me reports from your therapist as to what is going on with your therapy. We may not be able to submit those immediately with the application for the VAWA, but if a request for evidence does come about later, we will have those records ready to submit to USCIS. Yeah. So also, if you are on any sort of anxiety medication, give me the prescription for that.
Seth, let me ask you about the timeline here. What does the VAWA timeline look like? What parts of it tend to sometimes surprise people?
Okay, the VAWA timeline ends 2 years after the relationship ends. So, for example, most of these VAWA cases regard relationships with a husband and wife. Either the husband is a U.S. citizen or the wife is a U.S. citizen, and the other partner is the immigrant, whether they are legal or illegal in status or out of status. So if the marriage ends, you have 2 years to get this VAWA submitted. If you do not submit this VAWA within 2 years, you've lost your opportunity to submit the VAWA.
So Seth, let me ask you, without sharing obviously any identifying details, can you kind of describe a moment where, let's say, like careful evidence gathering, patience in the process, it made a clear difference in the outcome for one of your clients?
Yes. So actually, one of my first VAWA cases involved someone who was married to a U.S. citizen. It was not physical abuse, but it was extreme emotional abuse. What we had to do was gather the evidence. She was good about documenting everything to describe the spouse leaving her without food, without a way to contact anybody else. We were able to use that to support the VAWA application, along with her psychological evaluation. We were able to successfully obtain a VAWA application for her.
For the listener out there who thinks they may qualify, but they feel a little overwhelmed, maybe they're ashamed, they're afraid of taking that next step, what's a simple way you would recommend that they start getting some clarity without putting themselves at risk?
Well, first of all, you need to just reach out to an attorney, an immigration attorney, to evaluate your situation. It may be where it's not a good case. It may be where it's a great case and you don't think it's a case. It may be a case where you don't think that what has happened to you is actually abuse. A lot of people assume that abuse is only physical. No, it can be emotional. It can be even financial abuse. So if you are feeling that this is a possibility, you need to reach out to an immigration attorney who can more accurately assess the situation to see whether these abuses fit the criteria for a VAWA case.
Yeah. Seth, thank you for the time, insights, and sharing your story. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
And that's it for today's episode of Immigration Answers with Seth. If you want to learn more about Seth, his work over at the Stringer Law Firm, do me a favor right now, visit stringerimmigration.com. You're going to find all the clear information about VAWA, U visas, family immigration, and other ways to protect your future here in the United States. Thank you to everyone for listening. But before you go, do me a favor, like, subscribe, leave a review and comment, or share the episode with someone who needs to hear it. As always, I'm Mike Leon. See everybody next time.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.